Hi everyone, I'm Jessica and welcome to my kitchen. As you can see, my demo table is loaded with lots of fresh and vibrant ingredients, and I'm going to show you what I'm using them all for today when I start my demo for these Chipotle barbecue loaded nacho supreme. These nachos are the best nachos I've ever made, and you're going to love making them too. They have lots of different flavorful components highlighting different plant-based ingredients, so you're going to know how to make all the essentials for delicious nachos when you watch my demo and try these recipes for yourself. With that said, I don't want to hold this process up any longer. Let's get right into the demo and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to get started by making the first component of our nachos, which is our fresh pico de gallo. So to make the pico de gallo, you'll need diced tomatoes. I'm using grape tomatoes, but you can use any tomatoes that you like. Also some diced red onion. This is a half of a diced red onion. I probably will use about half of this, so maybe a quarter of a large diced red onion. We're going to use the juice of 1.5 limes because we want it to be nice and bright and tangy. We're going to also add in some fresh orange bell pepper just to add in some extra nutrients and flavor and texture and beautiful color. We're also going to be adding in a nice generous handful of chopped cilantro along with some diced jalapenos and a pinch of sea salt. So with that said, let's start assembling this. So I'm going to start off by adding in about half of our onions. Next, I'm going to use a reamer to juice my limes. And you want to get all the pulp and juice and everything in here. And I roll my limes out before I cut them and start juicing them just so everything comes out nice and easy. Limes can be a little tough, but if you roll them out, make sure they're a little bit warm. They won't be so rock hard and you can get plenty of beautiful juice out of them. And I love cooking with limes because they are even more sour than lemons. And sometimes you just need that extra sourness to bring all your flavors together. And these limes are going to do just that. They're actually going to mellow out our red onions a little bit because red onions can have quite a pungent flavor along with the sea salt. They're just going to add as like the flavor unifier to bring all of these ingredients together to make a delicious, fresh pico de gallo. Now, if you don't feel like making your own pico de gallo, you could totally just buy some from the store or even some salsa in the jar. Or if you want to make this recipe your own, you could add in some delicious extras like pineapple or mango or even peaches would all be delicious in this pico de gallo. So now I'm going to go in with about half of the jalapenos. This really just depends on how spicy you want yours to be. I wanted to have a nice kick, but not too spicy. And then we're going to go in with about half of this bell pepper. This is a fresh bell pepper here. And now I'm going to go in with a couple sprinkles of salt. You should salt to taste. I like to start off moderately and then add more salt as I go. So just going to gently toss this together. And you can see all these bright and beautiful flavors and colors melding together in this rainbow pico de gallo. It's so beautiful. And I love to make note that the more colors that you see in your fresh ingredients when you're making a dish, the more nutrient diversity you're going to have. So it's going to make that dish even more nutritious and healthy. So you're getting the benefit of all that amazing flavor, but you're also getting the benefit of a wide variety of nutrients. So try to cook colorfully as often as you can. Okay, so we've got this nice and mixed up and it's looking good. So now I can add in my cilantro. So like I said, I just took a handful. I washed my cilantro thoroughly. You want to make sure to do that because it can be sandy. And now I'm just kind of folding that into the mix. And I wanted to take the time to make this pico de gallo first because it just gives extra time for all of these delicious flavors to melt together to make an amazing dip, sauce, however you like. I think our pico is looking good. Get that in and let me give you a little close up of our pico de gallo. So one component down, on to the next. Okay, so for the next component of today's nacho recipe, I'm going to be showing you how to make a creamy, dairy-free avocado coconut lime crema. So this is going to be like our sour cream replacement in this nachos. Really creamy, really rich, really tart. Very simple ingredients that I'm going to show you right now. So first off, you need a half a block of firm tofu. So this is about 8 ounces of tofu. So we're going to put that into our blender. Next, we're going in with 1/2 cup of full fat coconut milk. So this is going to give that really rich creaminess that we want. And you could also use coconut cream, which is even higher in fat. If you want to use less fat, you could also use a light coconut milk. Now to start building that acid, we're going to go in with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Then we're going to go in with a nice pinch of sea salt. Now next, it wouldn't be an avocado coconut lime crema without avocado. So I have 1 small Hass avocado here, and I'm just going to go ahead and scoop out the flesh right into the blender. I'm using a Vitamix today, but honestly, any blender will work really well for this. All the ingredients are pretty soft, so you just need to be patient when you're blending to get this nice and smooth. Okay. All right, and the last ingredient you'll need to add in is lime juice. So I'm going to use the juice of 1 lime. Once again, these are nice soft limes that I've rolled around a bit, and I'm just squeezing the juice right on into the blender here. Now I'm adding lime juice and apple cider vinegar because they add different types of acid to this sour cream. So both of them balance each other out really well and are super delicious. All right, so I'm going to top this off with the lid. Put this on my blender base, and then this just needs to blend for about 30 to 60 seconds until it's completely creamy. And after just about 30 seconds of blending here, we have a nice, rich and creamy avocado coconut lime crema. This is going to perfectly top off our nachos, give the perfect complement. So I'm just going to pour this crema into a bowl and allow it to chill until it's time to put these nachos together. And you want to make sure you scrape all this goodness out. And this avocado coconut lime crema should stay fresh in the fridge for about 3 days in an airtight container, but I'm sure you'll eat it up before that. So probably the most important part of any nacho recipe is the nacho cheese sauce. So today I'm going to show you how to make a nacho cheese sauce using chickpeas. So this is a little spicy. It has jalapenos in it. It's going to be tangy from our salsa and a few other ingredients. So without said, let's get it going. So we're using our blender again, and inside the blender goes 1/2 cup of cooked chickpeas that have been strained and rinsed. I use canned, but you can make your own from scratch if you want. Next, I'm going in with 3 tablespoons of salsa. This is just mild salsa, but this is just to give it a little tang. It has those peppers and onions and spices in there, so it's going to get that flavor infused into our nacho cheese sauce. So next, we're going to go in with about half of a diced jalapeno. So this is just to give it a little kick. If you like more heat, add more jalapeno. I want to keep it with a mild kick, not too much, but I do want a little bit of spice. So I'm going in with half a jalapeno. Next, we're going to go in with a sprinkling of sea salt. Then I'm going in with 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Use my spatula to get this out. You could also use garlic powder instead or in addition to the onion powder, but I'm just sticking with onion powder today. And then finally, to give it that nice, vibrant color, we're going to go in with about a half a teaspoon of ground turmeric. And then what's going to give it a nice cheesy flavor is nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is a nutritional supplement, and it's chock full of B vitamins like B12. So it's a great nutritional supplement, and it adds a great nutty cheesy flavor to vegan ingredients and recipes. So I'm just measuring out a 1/4 cup here, a generous 1/4 cup. And then finally, we need something to blend this up with to make it nice and creamy. So dairy-free milk is your go-to. You can use any plain unsweetened dairy-free milk that you like. Today, I'm using a plain unsweetened almond milk. So we're going to go in with about a cup of this. Actually, I want this to be nice and saucy, so I'm going to go in with a cup and a quarter. Once again, you can adjust your liquid levels based off of what texture you like. Now, after we blend this up, we're going to be putting this in our saucepan to just heat it through and help it thicken up a little bit more. If you want even more help thickening up your vegan cheese sauce, you can add in 1 to 2 teaspoons of cornstarch or potato starch. But I think our chickpeas are going to get us close to the thickness we want as is. So here we go. I'm putting on the lid. And we're going to go ahead and blend this up for 30 to 60 seconds until everything is completely smooth. So that took closer to 60 seconds, but now our mixture is nice and smooth. And I have moved my saucepan front and center, and we have this over a medium-high heat. And we're just going to pour all of our sauce on into the saucepan. And you can already see that beautiful, vibrant yellow color from the nutritional yeast that we put in and the turmeric. So this is going to be an amazing nacho cheese sauce with a nice kick of spicy flavor. And I'm just going to stir this over this medium high heat for about 5 minutes until it starts to simmer and things start to thicken up a bit. And then we're just going to remove it from the heat and set it aside, and our nacho cheese sauce will be all done. So as you can see, our nacho cheese sauce is getting nice and bubbly. So we're just going to let this continue to cook until it gets to a nice thickness. And then we'll remove it from the heat and start preparing our next component. So our nacho cheese sauce is now nice and hot and bubbly, and it's going to continue to thicken once we remove it from the heat and allow it to cool down a little bit. So now is the time we're going to do just that. So I'm turning off my heat. And we're going to carefully pour it on into our bowl. And doesn't that look absolutely delicious? So as you can see so far, we've prepared our Pico de Gallo, our spicy nacho cheese sauce, and our avocado coconut lime crema. And now it's time to prepare some super simple and delicious refried black beans. So to make your refried black beans, all you'll need is 2 cans of black beans that have been drained and rinsed. These were 15-ounce cans. I'm going to be using about a quarter of a diced red onion. You could use white onion or yellow onion, but I already have this diced up, so I'm going to use this today. I'm also going to be using some ground coriander, some ground cumin, and some sea salt. And it's just that simple. So I'm going to turn my heat on medium high, and then I'm going to go in with a few tablespoons of oil. I like using grapeseed oil because it has a high smoke point. Avocado oil is also really good, but use whatever vegetable-based oil you like. Next, I'm going to be going in with my onions. So we want to saute our onions a little bit just to soften them up and help them to release their flavor. And that's going to impart a lot of amazing flavor into our black beans. So I don't know if you can hear it, but our onions are beginning to sizzle. And that's exactly what we're waiting for. Once these cook up for another 1 to 2 minutes, it'll be time to add in our black beans and our spices and really start mashing them up to make our refried beans. Our onions have been sizzling for a good amount of time, so now it's time to go in with our spices. So I'm adding in a half teaspoon of ground coriander, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, and a nice big pinch of sea salt, or 2. Stir that around a few times, just so that the hot oil can help the spices release their flavors. And then we're going to go in with our black beans. So now we just want these to cook down for about 5 or 10 minutes, get them really soft and flavorful, and our refried black beans will be done. Just like that. All right, so our black beans have been cooking for a few minutes, and as they cook, I'm just smashing them down with my spatula to start to mash them up a bit. We want it to have some texture, but we want them to be pretty mashed as well. And they're looking a little bit dry. So I'm going to add in just a touch more oil. So these fry up nicely. And I want my refried black beans to be just a little bit looser in texture as well. So I'm going to add in a bit of water, just a few tablespoons. And if you want to incorporate even more flavor, instead of water, you could add in some vegetable broth or some vegan chicken broth as well. But yeah, this is getting a nice texture now. As you can see, everything is simmered up really nice. Our onions are nice and soft, and the smell of those spices are coming through nice and clear. So these refried black beans are just about done. All right, and here we have our nice, hot, creamy refried black beans. So our refried black beans have been added to our nacho lineup, and now it's time to prepare probably the simplest, but I think the most flavorful component of our Chipotle barbecue nacho supreme. That's the Chipotle barbecue mushrooms. So for this, you will need 2 portobello mushroom caps. You could also use 8 ounces of any variety of mushrooms chopped. You're going to need about 4 to 6 chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, a few tablespoons of vegetable oil. I'm using grapeseed oil again. You'll need about a quarter cup of vegan friendly barbecue sauce, about a half teaspoon of onion powder, and a tablespoon of tamari sauce or soy or coconut aminos. These are going to give us a nice, rich, and savory flavor. Our chipotle pepper is going to add some really nice heat and smokiness. And then the barbecue sauce is going to add some really nice sweetness and then a little bit more just richness to flavors. So, with that said, my pan is heating up here over medium high heat. I'm going to go in with our few tablespoons of grapeseed oil. Just put that all in here. Then I'm going to go ahead straight in with our mushrooms. Now these will need to cook for a good amount of time because they have a lot of moisture in them, and we want our mushrooms to cook out all the extra moisture so they can get a nice hearty chewy texture. At the same time the mushrooms are cooking, we're going to go ahead and add in our tamari sauce or soy sauce. That's just going to help to infuse a lot of flavor into these mushrooms as they cook, as well as the salt from that sauce is going to help the mushrooms release that moisture a little bit faster. And we'll go in with our onion powder as well, just to get that flavor development going. So put all those components into our pan, and then we're just going to stir that around a little bit. We want all the mushrooms to be evenly coated with the oil. And the sizzle is already starting, which is perfect. These are probably going to take about 10 to 12 minutes total to cook. So not very long at all. And as I've gone through this demo, I've made each component one at a time, but if you're cooking on a stove like this, you can make multiple components at once, so it won't even take you half the time it's taking me to put these nachos together. You also have the option to cook your mushrooms in the oven on a baking sheet. You're just going to take all of the components that I listed, coat the mushrooms in them, bake them in a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. That will get you a great result. But if you like to cook on the stove top like I am today, this method works great as well. So all of our mushrooms are nice and evenly coated in the oil. So I'm just going to try to spread them out in an even layer to make sure all the mushrooms are making contact with the base of the pan, so they're getting nice even heat going throughout. And we're just going to let those cook. And the goal, like I said, is to get the moisture to release, but we also kind of want to get a sear on one side of those mushrooms to get some nice chew going. So while those mushrooms are cooking, I'm just going to take my chipotle peppers and kind of break them up with my spatula. So while these mushrooms are cooking, I'm just going to use my spatula to break up these chipotle peppers into a chunky paste. They don't have to be perfectly smooth, but if you don't feel like doing this work by hand, you could totally throw these in your barbecue sauce into a blender or a food processor and get these whizzed up in a couple seconds. But I'm just going to use my spatula here and break these chipotle peppers down a little bit so they're not as chunky, because we want all of the mushrooms to get an even distribution of this chipotle peppers and adobo sauce once we put it into the pan. Okay, so as you can see, I have been breaking down these mushrooms for a few minutes with my spatula, just stirring them around, chopping them up with the edge of the spatula, and I have a nice chunky paste here. So now I'm going to go in with my 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce and scrape all of that in here. Okay, and now we're just going to mix this together until it's evenly combined. Doesn't take it long at all. All right, so we've got a nice, sweet, smoky blend of chipotle peppers and barbecue sauce here, which is going to go perfectly on top of these mushrooms. Like I said, I'm using portobello mushrooms today, but you could use brown porcini mushrooms, you could use white button mushrooms, brown button mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, king trumpet mushrooms. Any mushrooms will work well. You could even use canned mushrooms. And you could also use other things besides mushrooms. You could do this with tofu. You could do this with tempeh or seitan. You could even do this with chickpeas or lentils. Anything you like can be sauteed up and then cooked down in this chipotle barbecue sauce. And it's going to add some great texture and really interesting flavor to our nachos. But once again, really, really simple preparation. So now I'm going to scooch our mushrooms over and just stir them up a bit, see how they're doing. They've already reduced quite a bit in size, and I see some really nice browning happening. So these are going perfectly. You can already see they're a lot browner than they were before. Now you could let these cook a little bit longer if you want them to get even more brown or release even more water, but I think these are looking good. So now is the time to add our chipotle barbecue sauce on in. Just scraping all that goodness out. And I'm just going to mix this whole thing around to get the mushrooms evenly coated with the sauce. And then we're just going to, once again, evenly spread this out into a nice even layer so that all the mushrooms are making even contact with the base of the pan. So these mushrooms just need to cook for about 5 to 7 more minutes. We want to bring them back to a sizzling simmer, get that sauce reduced a little bit, help those sugars in that barbecue sauce to caramelize a little bit more, and get these mushrooms nice and sticky. And once that's done, it's going to be time to assemble our Chipotle barbecue Nacho Supreme. So see you in a few minutes. So here are our mushrooms beautifully coated in that Chipotle barbecue sauce. They've got some delicious savory flavor from that tamari sauce, a little bit of onion powder, and sizzled up in a touch of oil. So very simple to make a super flavorful layer for our vegan nacho supreme. They're still looking a little wet, so I'm going to let these cook a little while longer, and then we'll pull them off the heat as soon as they're done. All right, so these mushrooms are looking nice and sticky. The sauce has thickened up quite a bit. So it is time to remove them from the heat and put our nachos together. And there we have our delicious sweet and smoky chipotle barbecue mushrooms. So I've taken all those components and layered this delicious bowl of vegan nachos. I started off with a layer of the refried black beans. Then I went in next with my fresh spinach. I topped that off with our vegan nacho cheese sauce. Then I went in with our mushrooms, our fresh Pico de Gallo, some scallions, and our coconut lime avocado crema. This bowl of nachos looks so good. I can't wait to eat it, and I can't wait for you to try this recipe for yourself at home. The amazing thing about all these components is not only can you use them to make these amazingly delicious Nacho Supreme, but you can also use the leftovers to make tacos, burritos, wraps, salads, even your own Chipotle bowls if you want to cook up some rice. So there's so much versatility once you get these simple vegan recipes down so you can eat nutritious food, flavorful food, and food that is so simple to prepare and share with others. I can't wait to cook with you again. If you're interested in seeing more of what I'm doing, check me out on Instagram at love.vegan.soul. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye, everybody.